Chair Johnson. I'll be reading the second affirmative constructive. My roadmap is responding to topicality and then extending on U.S.-Turkey relation harms, Iranian proliferation harms, and also sovereignty. Topicality. 1. We made this interpretation. Their own violation indicates ground troops make up over half of the presence in Turkey. 2. No ground loss. There is absolutely no reason why links to air and naval forces in Turkey are crucial negative ground. The affirmative interpretation provides better ground because it is more specific and rooted in real-world policy literature. The negative is making turns on case based on the removal ground forces, which proves that the affirmative provides the most specific education in this route. 3. Counterinterpretation. A substantial reduction in forces is over 50%. Comprehensive Base Closure Reform and Recovery Act 1992. 4. Prefer our interpretation. A. Predictability. It's in the context of actual military operations, making our interpretation more relevant to the topic. B. Ground. It still forces affirmatives to cut at least half of troops or police forces in a given area. This is enough to trigger all negative disadvantages. C. Limits. Limits are irrelevant. There will never be thousands of affirmatives to research because teams will want to run small affirmatives because they do not have significant harms, creating a functional limit on the topic. 5. Topicality is not a voting issue in this round. As long as the affirmative allows for reasonable ground and good limits, then as a judge you should not consider topicality. Otherwise you will reward topicality interpretations that arbitrarily exclude the affirmative. Harms. Extensions. Turkish officials don't want TNWs because they don't want to be the front line on a war against Iran. However, America hurts the relationship by its continued insistence otherwise. Only removing TNWs can solve. Lewis, 2009. Flint Leverett, Justice and Development Party, reiterated that Turkey wants a nuclear-free Middle East, and this applies to Iran as well as other countries suspected of having nuclear bombs. Since the two powers in the region have nuclear weapons are Israel and NATO, it also provided an opening to ask about where Ankara was on those U.S. nuclear weapons believed to be stationed at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey. The status of U.S. nuclear weapons in Turkey, few hundred. In Washington, the conventional wisdom is that they must remain forward deployed to assure Turkey. As for his own personal opinion, Keyonte said Turkey would not insist that NATO retain forward-deployed nuclear weapons. Conventional forces are sufficient to meet Turkish security needs. Keyonte didn't flinch. That's pretty remarkable. Next. A terrorist attack is probable. The Smith evidence cites a congressional study that indicates that threats of nuclear smuggling in rogue states combined with the aspirations of global terrorists make a nuclear terrorist attack probably by 2013. Next, Al-Qaeda recent rearmament proves the probability of the threat. Media Newswire 2008. Al-Qaeda continues to pose significant threats to the United States at home and abroad, and Al-Qaeda's central leadership based in the border of Pakistan is its most dangerous component. 5. A national intelligence estimate said that Al-Qaeda has been able to regenerate the operational capabilities needed to conduct attacks in the U.S. The FATA serves as a staging area for Al-Qaeda's attacks and support for the Taliban in Afghanistan, as well as a location for training new terrorist operatives for attacks in the United States. The group's adaptable decision-making process and bench of skilled operatives have enabled it. Bin Laden and Zawahiri continue to lead the terror group and focus on their strategic vision of confronting the United States and its allies with mass casualty attacks around the globe. Although security concerns preclude them from day-to-day running of the organization, Bin Laden and Zawahiri regularly pass specific operational guidance to their followers through public statements. Al-Qaeda is identifying, training, and positioning operatives for an attack in the United States. Next, Turkey doesn't and will not possess the physical capability to proliferate. Rydell, 2008. Turkey has not invested resources in the development of its nuclear sector beyond small-scale scientific research. Turkey does not have the technical capability to build its own bomb in the near term. The Turks see Iran as a peer competitor, and they believe that Iran's nuclear program is an element of Iran's effort to strengthen its influence in the region, but they do not generally see Iran as a military threat that would justify the expense and risk of acquiring nuclear weapons. Next, nuclear war doesn't require an Iranian first strike. Conflict escalates and snowballs as Iran's nuclear weapon program continues. That's 1AC Hirsch evidence, possibly exasperated or intercepted by an Israeli strike, or as it continues unabated and causes the Middle East to proliferate rapidly. Next, proliferation will be rapid and irrational. That's the Agaf evidence. As new proliferants attempt to gain leverage, miscalculation and irrational decision-making cause first strike scenarios that risk global retaliation and escalation. Proliferation snowballs in response to Iran. Rajabi indicates Saudi Arabia and Egypt will be motivated to garner nuclear weapons, creating shockwaves globally. Next, nuclear Iran sparks massive Middle Eastern proliferation. In fall 2004, the threat of a nuclear Iran comes from the reaction that it is almost sure to spark in the region and the world, possibly sending Egypt and Saudi Arabia on their own quest for nuclear weapons. Such an arms race would undermine the long-standing and treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, an agreement signed by nearly 190 countries that has proved indispensable in preventing the spread of nuclear wars. Next, Iran nuclearization can spark snowballing proliferation. Again, it's 2005. We are approaching a point at which the erosion of non-proliferation regime could be irreversible and result in a cascade of proliferation. One major challenge to the non-proliferation regime appearing on the strategic horizon is likely the development of an Iranian nuclear capability, which could spark a wave of proliferation throughout the Middle Eastern region. Next, Middle Eastern proliferation causes an arms race. Accidents, unauthorized launch, and miscalculation are inevitable. Rouse in 2006. The U.S. and the Soviet Union engaged in an intense arms race and built up vast nuclear arsenals. Those states' arsenals have remained fairly small and relatively unsophisticated. Nuclear-armed countries in the Middle East would be unlikely to display such restraint. Iran and Iraq would be much too suspicious of each other, as would Saudi Arabia and Iran, Turkey and Iraq, and so forth. And then there's Israel. Wariness to create classic conditions for a multipolar arms race, with Israel arming against all possible enemies and the Islamic states arming against Israel and one another. Because governments come to see conflict as preferable to financial exhaustion or believe they can gain a temporary military advantage through the war. And next, Middle East war does escalate. That's the Steinbach evidence. Other countries feel obliged to step into the conflict and prevent it from further escalation, which backfires and causes further global retaliation. Next, solvency. Extend the 1NC Kristen evidence. Weapons present an ineffectual deterrent because everyone knows Turkey is going to use them. Iran is not going to be any less scared of the world of the plan. Next, removing our TNWs in Turkey is key to curb Iranian proliferation. Van der Rosen, 2009. The most problematic thinkable nuclear weapons threat to NATO is currently Iran. Next, the plan solves the inevitability Iranian nuclearization. The reason Iran is attempting to proliferate is an internal competition with Turkey. That's Kibar glue evidence. With American TNWs present in Turkey, Iran feels the need to have nuclear backup. Next, diplomacy isn't necessary for solvency. Kibar glue indicates that removing TNW solves the root desire of Iranian proliferation because they no longer feel the need to compete with Turkey. Next, the cards describe irrelevant American diplomacy. Turkey can act as a mediator between the two parties as long as it has credibility with Iran to do so, as it is a balancing act between East and West. That's the Thai press report evidence. Next, diplomacy is the best solution to
Finish the sentence.
Iranian quagmire. Process.
My first question is, I want to go back to how many TNWs are there in Turkey?
We have 90 TNWs.
90?
Approximately.
So how many people is there guarding those TNWs? 90. So is there 90 personnel guarding those TNWs?
No, there's more.
Okay. What other types of weapons are there in Turkey?
B-61s. Do you know the name?
Like the weapons that the military has. I mean, that's not really important because we're not what we're focusing on.
Okay, but you stated that Turkey wants to be a nuclear-free Middle East. But if TNWs are only weapon Turkey, then how does that happen? That would never happen.
Not every weapon in Turkey is a nuclear weapon. TNWs are nuclear weapons. So removing them will make them nuclear weapons free.
Okay. How will Turkey be on the front line of a war against Iran?
Because Turkey is in between Iran and Israel, and they want to act as a mediator, and if they can't do that because our weapons are there, then they are in the middle, and they are on the problem.
Okay, you say Turkey doesn't see Iran as a threat, and if that's the case, then how come they're scared of being as a middle of a frontline war against Iran? Or how come Iran proliferation is one of your harms if Turkey doesn't see Iran as a threat?
Turkey threatened by Iran because Turkey and Iran have nothing to do with each other. Iran and Israel have something to do with each other. And Turkey's in the middle. That's why they're scared. They're not scared of Iran. They're trying to stop the conflict between the other two countries.
Because they are in the middle.
So they're solely working with Iran, not Israel.
They're working with both. They're being a mediator.
But they're trying to be the mediator, but they cannot be with our weapons there.
Okay, so well once again, how do we know that Israel and Iran wants to be mediated? Why can't they mediate themselves?
We read in the first speech that they were willing to be mediated.
So why can't they mediate themselves? Why does Turkey have to be diplomatic mediator?
You saying why can't they mediate themselves?
I'm saying if they want to be mediated, then why haven't they mediated themselves to diplomatic conflicts? Have had issues for so long?
Because they
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because our weapons are moving. And they don't want it.
Okay. You talk about Luke's mothers and how terrorist attack will happen, right?
It could be one of the reasons.
Okay, so then how can Turkey not proliferate if there are Luke's mothers out there? Could that be a source of how Turkey proliferate?
They're only there because Turkey has nuclear weapons. If the nuclear weapons were gone, they wouldn't do that.
Nuclear smugglers?
Correct.
Why would they?
So if we remove our TNWs from Turkey, they can't get TNWs from anywhere else.
We didn't say that.
There aren't any TNWs in the surrounding countries, but they're proliferating because Turkey has TNWs.
And if we remove them, then everybody else will stop removing their own.
Because they have no reason to.
Is that a fact or is it just a...
That is a fact, because they signed the treaty. That's what the Treaty of Non-Proliferation says.
Do you have that treaty that's where it says that Iran and Turkey signed the treaty?
Yes, I read it in one of my
Time.
books. This time. Can I answer this question?
If you have the answer in the next 10 seconds.
Man, did I read it?
How you correct, Tom, please?
All right, that's time.
Okay.